a cup of joe and gather round the hay bale with your hosts, Alicia from Country Mama Musings, Kacy from Ormsby Farms, Kacy from Boots and Bounty Homestead, Lisa from Yogi Hollow Farm, and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, here they are. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome to Round the Hay Bale. I'm Alicia.
I'm Kacy.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Monica. Welcome back to the Hay Bale.
Yes, welcome back. And y'all, Kacy from Boots and Bounty is on vacation this week, but she will be joining us next week, January 24th, on a new episode of the podcast. So we hope she has fun on her vacation.
Yes.
Today's episode is all about things on the farm, homestead, first aid. Really important topic today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So before we get into that, how was everyone's week or weekend anyway? Kacy, how was your week? What did you do?
It was good. You know, we had the Snowmageddon here in Georgia. So our little half inch of snow was considered Snowmageddon. So basically trying to stay warm and catching up on all of my lovely gal friends' videos. I did that. And I just have to say, I need to pull up one thing because this was my favorite. Y'all, if you follow us in the chat, if you follow all four of us, you know that Monica and Eric had their live Thursday, and a funny announcement was announced from our very own Lisa from Yogi Hollow. So just a little quickie.
Anytime that you have new life.
What? Lisa's prego? That is not even true. This is what's happening up there? Oh my goodness.
Anyway, you know, anytime that we have new growth, new life, it's just so exciting. I don't know.
Something happened. You missed something, Eric.
We're going to go back to it because I had to turn the volume up.
For Wabbit. I would have thought a little today and get more of the road cleared. Good. My Yukon is back in the garage. That's good.
Anyway.
It's only a house pet for a little bit.
I don't see you do this to me all the time. You get me distracted, and then I don't know what I'm talking about. And then you make it out like I'm taking a long way around the barn, but in reality, you have interrupted me.
Go ahead, do whatever you need.
No, I don't know what to say now because it just.
I don't know where the comment went. They're laughing at you. Kacy's shooting things off. Pew pew pew. Oh no, it's not even. It's Niecy shooting pew 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 at Ormsby. For all kinds of stuff. We're all way far back.
Okay.
I have rabbit fur on my face now.
Long way around the barn.
Hey, how are you, sis? How are you? Kadesh Farm Homestead. How are you doing?
What's going on? Mr. E? Woo.
Look, Kadesh Farm Homestead has lambs, new lambs.
So, if y'all didn't get it, we were all in the chat, minding our business, talking about new life on the farm, and Lisa decides to let us know that she is pregnant. And I have never seen Eric look so confused, Monica, in my life.
Yeah, imagine how Ryan looks.
Right, Ryan's like, what?
He didn't even know he was.
Ryan's a little more confused at the news than Eric is.
They were talking about new life. And they were like, you know, it's always good to have new life on the farm. And, you know, what kind of new life do you have? And I was in a weird mood. And it was really funny because the first one to pick up on it was Jake at Nunya. And it was just hilarious because him and I were going back and forth. And Monica and Eric were just, you know, and then they picked up on it. But it was like, it was funny.
It was.
I'm not pregnant.
My ringtone. Yeah, just FYI to everybody out there. But it is going to be my ringtone for a while. Monica going, Lisa's prego. That will be my ringtone from next week.
Lisa's prego? I'm like, that's not true. I shot it down as soon as it came up. I was like, no.
I'm looking forward to the day that Kacy actually is able to attend Sunday services instead of being online, and he's actually sitting in a pew and his phone goes off and says, Lisa's prego.
Right. Well,
I'm looking forward to that day.
Well, it will hopefully be soon because I will I'll take a picture for you, Alicia, when it happens. I'll probably
Okay.
take it with a congregation, like,
Woo! Clutching their pearls.
yes.
It'll be great.
So what about y'all? What did y'all do this week?
Let's see. Well, here in the farm in Iowa, Papa Jim and I, we just kind of sat around and looked at each other all weekend because we lost our internet because of Winter Storm Izzy. She blew through Friday into Saturday. By some miracle, we had about 45 minutes to 50 minutes of internet on Saturday for our live. But since then and before then, we've had nothing. So I'm using my phone today, which is sketchy because it's just like a little burner phone from Wally World. But so we didn't have anything to keep us entertained other than some good old-fashioned downtime. We had the fireplace going. We had the oil lamps going. He was able to get some music on his phone, so we put on some 1940s hits and just kind of sat back, and I crocheted and he snuggled with the dogs. And it was really nice because we needed that because we did have to dig our vehicles out. We didn't get a half an inch of snow like Kacy did down in Georgia. We had 9+ inches of snow, and we're used to getting 9 inches of snow. That's fine. And it's something that Lisa and I had discussed earlier in the week. I said, oh, they've already shut down school for Friday. And she says, it's just snow. Well, we had blowing snow. And so our cars were buried under no less than 4 foot all the way around. The vehicles had to be dug out. We had a 4-foot drift up against the door when we opened the door. And we finally got cleaned out. The snow plows came by, and then the wind shifted, and we are just surrounded by farm fields. We're in the middle of just open agriculture area. And so when the wind shifts, then all of the snow that blew one direction now blows back the other direction. So we woke up this morning and we were snowed in again, even though there was no fresh snow. So it's almost like brushing your teeth and eating Oreos around here because it doesn't matter what we get cleaned up, then the wind blows it all back again and we're snowed in again. But it took Papa Jim about 45 minutes to make it into work today because the snow drifts are no joke. You think you're fine, and then before you know it, you've high centered on a snow drift because it's such a gradual snow drift. And you think, oh, am I driving upwards? Because you can't see the road anyway. And then before you know it, you've high bottomed and your car's just sitting there and you're not going anywhere for a while. So that's what we did. I got some great footage of the farm with all of the beautiful snow. I'm in the middle of editing it, and not that I can upload it because I have no internet here at the farm to get it up onto YouTube. So that's what we're doing.
Can I just say that I love that brushing your teeth and eating Oreo comment?
It's the truth. It's what it's like.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one for sure. So hopefully you'll stay warm. I mean, your pellet stove is working great, right?
Yes, we did the maintenance on it. I dropped some videos on the maintenance on it. It's working great. It's got lots of beautiful heat, and we were just nice and toasty and warm all weekend, despite it really wasn't terribly cold. We've had colder days, but that wind was fierce. And you don't think 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts are bad or 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but when it's driving a bunch of snow and you can't see down to the workshop, it gets pretty hectic around here. You get turned around real quick.
I bet. Geesh. What about you, Lisa? Did you, I don't think you got any snow over there, did you?
No, it's been actually very warm here. Very warm and sunny. We've had upper 40s and 50s the past week. And I think we had one day was 52, which was like summertime. And, but no, it's been really dry. We're in a drought. So in the spring, that'll cause a problem for us because we'll have the fire danger. So we really need the precipitation. And so we had, I think it was like 32 yesterday, but it was nice. We got a lot done. The freeze dryer, wherever it is running. It's finished its cycle. I just have to go read up on what I need to do next. But
so your bread is finished?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I asked.
Yeah. So what the freeze dryer does is they tell you have to run a setup cycle. So you do that, and then you have to run bread in it. And the reason why they tell you to run bread in it is because it absorbs all the new freeze dryer smell and odor, and then you throw the bread out. So we've done the bread, and so it's all done, but I had to open the vent and I have to do a few other things. So, but it's running right now, but it's great. It's set it and forget it. Like, not like a dehydrator where you have to look at how many hours. That's what I really liked about it. We were learning yesterday about it. And the cool part is you just put the stuff in and it runs. And when it's
and
done,
you know what's really great is I don't hear it.
yeah, and it's running right now.
It must be very quiet because I'm not picking up on it at all, which is great because dehydrators are noisy.
Wow,
They
they're
are.
so loud.
They are. I'm looking forward to doing like onions to see, you know, when you do onions in a dehydrator and the whole house is like intense onion odor. So I'm looking forward to doing this. I know when I first got on this morning, I was telling Kacy I was worried about the noise picking up, but now it's just the freeze dryer because the stove ran out of pellets right now. I have to refill it, but
so you're gonna start slowly freezing as the episode goes on.
It's already started. But, anyway, it's really cool. It's pretty cool. I think it's great. We've got it all set up, so we're gonna get that all going today because we got our bulk box, which is pretty cool. We got a bulk produce box, and I posted on Instagram, and for $26, I mean, it's packed full of stuff. So real excited about it.
So are you gonna be freeze drying a variety for your first official time of freeze drying, or are you gonna do onions right away?
I don't have a bunch of onions. I may do cucumber chips because in the bulk box we got 4 huge cucumbers and we won't eat them. So I don't want them to go to waste. So I think we're going to try that for the maiden voyage and maybe some berries.
Nice.
I'm curious with the cucumbers, are you just going to freeze dry them or are you going to dip them like in some ranch powder first and then freeze dry them so you have like little chips you can eat?
I'm going to make chips out of them.
Yum.
I'm not going to use ranch, but I am going to season them. Just trying to do a little more salt and all the salt.
I was going to say, just for reference, you can use them just like you would make zucchini bread. You can actually make cucumber bread like zucchini bread. So if you ever have just one, you can always make it like that. So
awesome. I was also going to try and maybe do some pickling. I don't know. We'll see.
Ooh.
No promises, folks.
Yeah,
They're definitely getting freeze-dried. But it was a good weekend. We got this all cleaned up, so it's nice. We got everything functional again.
Well, it looks super back there, and the canner takes longer, so that that's takes more time to watch and be a part of. We were talking about that last night. A canner isn't necessarily fix it and forget it all the time, so I can see that that would probably be down a little lower on your list of things to do, especially if you're busy with other things. Freeze dryer sounds like an easy option when you're putting it in there and kind of walking away from it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I think we all have freeze dryer envy, to be true. But to hit on Monica's point, that new Nesco electric pressure canner, it really is as close to set it and forget it as you can get.
I know.
I really enjoy mine. I know Lisa does as well, or Monica does. And I think Lisa pulled the trigger on one recently. So I think we're all,
I had a finger slip.
Telephone, telegraph, tell Alicia. Squirrel. I'm sitting here while I'm talking and there literally is a squirrel outside the window. I totally just got distracted by a squirrel. I'll stop talking about Lisa's loose finger hitting a buy button.
Well, I think it was a good point that Monica and I were talking back and forth about was that we have, first of all, I know some stoves are not made for canning, right? You can't use canners on them. The only reason I have not used my pressure canner is because I don't feel that my stove, my current stove, would hold the rocker going exactly at the pressure it needed to be. And I've been concerned about that because I have an older electric stove. I'm not a fan of electric stoves at all. I grew up on gas, but I can't have it here. So there's no instantaneous adjustment. So when I adjust boiling water, we go from boiling over to not boiling at all. That's not going to work with a pressure canner is my concern. Am I right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I went for the electric.
Well, you're going to love it.
Yes, well, I may be slipping buying it today, Monica. So thank you. Well, even though I have a pressure canner, but it's like you were saying, with an electric stove, which is what we have, and I'll have at the farm an electric stove, you literally have to babysit for the 95, 120, whatever minutes it is. And it's so annoying because you're turning it up, down, up, down, up. If I can just sit and forget it with this. How many quarts and pints does it hold, Alicia and Monica, that have one?
4 quarts of the wide mouth, 5 pints of the wide mouth, although I have done some regular mouth in them with no issue. So they're not for larger batches. So if you're going to be doing something large batch, you're going to be doing a lot of little batches, or you need to get your regular pressure canner out. But so far, this has worked perfect because I'm able to just dice up 4 quarts of potatoes and pop them in there, set it, and forget it. It really is so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, the thing is with our family, because I cook for a family of, 9 to 11 at any given time. And then if it's a great recipe and the kids are all over it, they'll eat it up. But there are so many times where I'll make a big batch. I mean, I make anywhere between 4 to 5 pounds of ground beef when I make taco meat. Okay. That's a meal for us. And that way we have leftovers. Well, sometimes we have leftovers and I'll go in there after 4 or 5 days and I'm like, guys, we've got taco meat in here. And they're like, yeah, we're tacoed out. We're nachoed out. We're enchiladed out. We're whatever they make, because they'll make quesadillas and they'll eat it all week. And then I throw away, or I give to the pigs, beef taco meat because there's no pork in it. So I don't mind giving it to the pigs a little bit at a time. And so it's been really nice because last week we had taco meat and I didn't care if they were going to eat it for leftovers anyway. I was like, well, I'm going to can this up. And so I pulled it out and I went to it. And that's what I was canning actually last Thursday on our live. And I tried it. And I was so excited when I was finished. I'm like, it actually sealed. I mean, literally the next day, one of the kids was like, can I have some taco meat? I'm like, it's in the pantry. Over there. And they were like, in the fridge, in the large pantry in the fridge. I'm like, no. In the pantry on the shelf, child. And it was just, it's nice to be able to know that it's shelf stable if I need it. So I have been canning leftovers and that's been really nice because otherwise, sometimes even with a big family, leftovers go to waste. I mean, They go to the pigs, but they go to waste.
Nothing goes to waste, really.
Exactly.
I think what I like is when I am going to be doing my garden this year and last year when I had green beans, you have to blanch them and freeze them. Or if you want to can them, you have to either do a small batch in a big, huge canner or wait until you get enough together so that you can do it to make it worth your while to use up all of that gas to pressure can those beans. And now I know I'm just going to be able to go out, harvest just a nice little basket of green beans. And I'm going to either be able to do pints or quarts in that Nesco electric pressure canner. And it's going to be perfect. So I am really looking forward to that this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge help for us too. I mean, we do, when we do green beans, we do a lot. So I'll get an entire bushel or more sometimes and have it available. So my mother-in-law will do all the hand work on this end and then we'll pass it on to her and she'll finish it and she'll do the big batch canning. So I've had her kind of being my, she's been my crutch, I guess. I'm like leaning on her to do the actual hard canning part. But we do all the snapping and the cleaning and all that and hand it to her and she does that. But it's going to be nice that I could, like you said, if I have only a few in the very beginning where we don't have a huge batch to do, I don't have to put it in the freezer. I can just do a couple jars and it's going to be available in smaller quantities.
And canned green beans are so good. I love them over the frozen ones. I love them so much better.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to try it because when I do soups, like in the crock pot, there's always like 1.5 quarts left. And I don't want to freeze it because freezing it, either I got to do it in Ziploc bags and that gets messy, or the Tupperware and that's a waste of space. So to know that I can have 2 quarts and put it in, the Nesco canner and have it canned, I'm excited. So I may slip like Lisa, like, oops. Purchase.
That's part of the reason.
In my cart.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
I feel like that's part of my reasoning too, because my dad is here in Texas with us, and I know that he goes to the store and buys these instant ready meals. He has to watch his sodium, and so I know that he feels like he wants to have a can of soup, and he can't always because he doesn't. Some of the low sodium stuff isn't as low sodium as he would like. And so I was just telling him on the phone the other day. I was like, Dad, I've got this canner. I can make you good tasting, lower sodium, really good soups, and then I can can it up and you can put it in your pantry and have that whenever you just get a hankering for some soup and you don't want to splurge on the sodium, because why not? And so I was really excited that I can help my dad eat healthier, knowing that, he had a heart attack back in 2017. If I can help him live longer, I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what it's all about, Well, let's dive right into the meat of this episode, farm first aid. A while back, I think it was in October, I had done a challenge and a video on what's in your farm first aid kit.
And Lisa, I actually have that I was going to pull up to the screen.
Okay.
So for those that are watching, I actually do have Lisa's video.
Farm animal and announcing a new challenge today. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa and you're watching Yogi Hollow Farm. And today I wanted to pose a new challenge to everybody. And I have reasons why I want to do it, because I think it's really, really important as number one to be prepared. I was watching Laura at Hedgehog's Homestead the other day, and she was talking in her video about you need to be prepared for first aid and emergencies, because you don't always have time to run out and get this stuff. We are in a rural neighborhood, and because I don't have any local farm stores. We do have a feed supply store that has very limited quantities of stuff, but I can tell you some of the items I can't get here. So that means I have to drive an hour. So I don't have 2 hours there and back. And I also don't have time to go running around to see who has what. So the other reason we're posing this challenge is because we want to learn from everybody and know what everybody has in their first aid farm kits. So what's in your first aid farm kit is the hashtag. Hashtag what's in your first aid farm kit. So I want everybody to join, tag us with that. And I'm going to show you what is in ours so I could start us all off. And again, thank you to Laura at Hedgehog's Homestead for talking about this in her video, because.
And let me say that I watched that video like 40 times because I have no knowledge on what to have in a first aid farm kit for animals. With us buying the homestead, this is all so new. So Lisa, thank you for that video, because it is so important. And that's why we're talking about it today on the podcast.
Yeah, we had a Bro Cowgirl is in the chat. She did it. She did a really thorough job of hers, and we had some others join in. And since that time, we've added to ours. And so I'm going to do an update on our first aid box, because we've added some things to it, and it's larger now. Now it's in a tote instead of a box. We've decided that maybe there's things in there that are not exactly first aid are in there, but we've decided it's good that it's a central location for all things related to the animals that we can't keep outside or in a barn. So for example, we have towels, we have blankets and things like that. We have some large black trash bags that we've added. We've added some permethrin for treating chickens and all of that. But I mean, I can go through mine, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys do?
Oh, Monica's pointing at me. Okay, well, I figured everybody that was going to be in our chat today about first aid was going to hit a lot of the basics. So I'm sure some of the things that are the basics are what Lisa and Monica will hit on. And I thought I would look into my little first aid kit and find some things that maybe people might not think of. But I'm sure all of you have, and this is something that everybody's going to think of, but it's the Vetricin spray. So Vetricin is very important. It's great for wound care. We always have it on hand. It doesn't matter if one of our dogs or one of our pigs or something has a little bit of a rash or a cut. We spray it with the Vetricin. We make sure that they have a really good coating of that for wound and skin care. But what I also brought and it fell. Let me grab it real quick here. This is something that people might not think about. When you're doing laundry and the dryer has eaten a sock and you can't find the mate to some sock, don't throw away your socks. Keep them in your first aid kit, because if you have an animal that has a wound on their leg, you can cut the toe off of the sock, slip it up over their leg, use some Coban, which is that like elasticy bandage tape. You can tape it at the top, tape it at the bottom, and that wound is covered, but it still gets the air that it needs. You can spray it with the Vetricin, then you can slide the sock up over their leg and use the Coban to keep that in place. It keeps them from chewing on it, nipping at it. Where we live, we have a lot of problems with flies, and for some reason, they love donkeys. So our donkeys will start with just a tiny little sore, and the flies just love it. They chew on their legs. The donkeys chew on their own legs. And then before we know it, we have a big gaping wound, and the flies are just all over. We put the fly powder on them, and we put these socks on with the Coban, and that keeps the flies off of it, keeps the donkeys from chewing on it. So just keeping your extra socks, don't throw them away. You can use these. I was thinking actually of Gizmo, Monica's little pig, this morning, because I thought, you can cut the toe off of this sock, and then you can slide it over both little legs, so it's almost like a little shawl around the piggy's legs. And that still would have given the protection that his little wound needed when her little pig got wounded. It allows the air to get there, but it kind of keeps some of the yucky stuff out. So if you use your noggin, there's some creative things you can come up with these socks. So don't throw your socks away. Another thing that I brought up is we have these little bulb syringes. Let's see if I can hold it where everybody can see it. You can get these little bulb syringes online. You can get them from the vet. You can even get them from your dentist, because they give you these to clean out when you have had an extraction in your teeth. Pull up a little bit of salt water and put that in that extraction. But these are really good for when you have animals that have a wound that needs to be flushed. If you don't have an extra syringe, which you should have extra syringes, you can get those at your farm supply or from your vet. But these are just really nice because you can just suck up a little bit of salt water into this bulb, or even hydrogen peroxide water, and you can flush a wound out. Very, very pinpoint end on it. It's very good for flushing wounds. So we keep these on hand. They're very, very reasonably priced. And then the last thing I wanted to share was something that I actually contributed to Lisa's challenge for her Her hashtag challenge is we all go to the grocery store and we get these little nylon kind of plasticky bags for our groceries. Don't throw them away. Don't think you've got too many. They are great on any homestead or even just at your home if you have small pets. I did a video on this. I'm hoping maybe one of the mods can drop the link. But if you cut the sides out, it makes a nice, long, flat, washable, rinsable vinyl carrying mat because you have the handles on it. If you have a small injured animal that you have to transport either from the barn up to the house or into the vet, these make really great little transportation bags. It allows for your animal to have their legs hanging out if they need to, however they can be comfortable. And if it's messy because you've had a bad injury, you can simply throw it away and make another one. It is a great way to upcycle something, and we always keep it. And we've actually used this a couple of times since making this one for Lisa's video. I have 2 or 3 now that I keep handy. So if we have an injured animal, it's easy to carry them either up into the house or to the vet. So that's out of my kit. Oh, I've got one more thing.
I was going to say, for those who are listening to the podcast and can't see what Alicia's holding up, you can always visit us at youtube.com/round the hay bale and see the video podcast. So if you are listening to our podcast on Apple, on Google, on Spotify, go to youtube.com/round the hay bale. And you'll be able to see what she was actually holding up, because they are really, really, really good things to have, and simple things that you wouldn't think, I need to get that.
I forgot one more thing because it was just sitting right here. Baby aspirin. Keep a little bottle of baby aspirin on hand. Always do your research online to make sure that your animal can have baby aspirin. But if you have a small animal that is in pain and you can't get to the vet, or if you have a vet that's not able to work with you for whatever reason, maybe they don't specialize in a specific animal that you have, keep baby aspirin on hand. We've had baby aspirin we've used for our dogs. We've used it for our pig when our pig was going through some issues. They cannot have Tylenol. They cannot have Motrin, but they can have baby aspirin. So just keep a little bottle of baby aspirin on hand. So if you have an incident where you've got an animal that's not feeling so great, you can give them a little bit. I believe these are 84 milligrams. You can do that until you can get in to see a vet for any type of an injury. So our little dog, she has a little torn ACL. We kept her comfortable with the baby aspirin until we were able to get her into the vet. So, but again, check to make sure that whatever animal you want to administer it to, that their system can handle that. You're not going to give it to a big cow like Monica's got big cows, but you know.
No, definitely not. Okay, so I guess I can go next. Coming off of what Alicia said, so I'm not really going to show you some of the basics. I mean, there's a lot of basics people probably have, but for us, we have so many different sized animals. So for us, we have several different bins. I have the first bin. One of my bins I actually have is it's a thermal bag. It's like a cooler that I keep all of my actual medication, the prescription medication in. Now this is not temperature regulated medication. The rest of my temperature regulated medication is in my refrigerator. So you live on a farm and you have refrigerated medicine. I have an actual I call it the cattle bag. It actually has extra syringes. It is in there specifically for my larger animals. Now I do have some stuff in there for my smaller animals, but mainly that's all of our vaccinations, all of our emergency medicines. I try to have things like this is Duramycin. I try to have stuff like Tylan. I have a bunch of different ones of these bottles. I even bought vitamin B, vitamin K, different things like this that you can get online or at your vet. But I make sure I always pick up at least a penicillin or something because that's going to help out. You can use that for goats, sheep, any of the animals that are mainly in your care, especially the medium sized to larger animals. Even good for pigs. Now, because we've run cattle and we've had to deal with a lot of smaller cattle, we bought things and I keep stuff like bloat treatment. I keep things like that in there that are general as well. This isn't just for cattle. This is for sheep, goats, and cows. So find those multi-treatments when you see them online or you see them in your local feed store. I'm always about shopping local. So I say, go to your local feed store and look there first. Put something like that in there, especially if you're having babies, your animals are actively having babies, be prepared for those things. My second bin I have is just of the medical for the livestock. I have some larger animal stuff, which is some of that stuff. One of the things I always keep too are bottles. I keep different variety of bottles, and I'm looking to see if there's another one. There's another sized one somewhere in here, but I have the bottles. I have the big bottles. I have the smaller bottles. I have the variety of bottles because you never know when you're going to need to help a baby out. And that's super important to us. One of the things I also keep is just some plain, the water, the electrolyte solution water. Yeah. I always have the electrolyte solution in there. I have a couple bottles of this, like Pedialyte, because if you have an animal that is in need of that rehydration, it's super important to have that. I obviously have the wound care items, the regular stuff. I have some fun stuff that I found at my local feed store, like the wound skin remedy. It's like a little resin you put on. I'm always finding new things at the feed store and I'm like, we should get that. And so another thing that I have too, and I don't think I even have it in this basket because I brought one of my bins in, is a the bleed stop. It's a powder you can put on. It's super important to have something like that, especially if you are out further. Kacy is out further away from, getting to a vet or getting to a clinic or even a feed store. If you're at your local feed store, look around and pick up some of those things because they're going to be helpful probably when you least expect it. We also always keep extra syringes. It's always good to have those. And my favorite thing to have on the farm, besides making sure also you may hoard your old prescriptions for your animals. So that does work. I had a boxer who had boxer ulcers for years. She had passed away, and I have this little eye drop that now I have used on so many animals. I'm actually getting ready to run out and I'm kind of sad. I'm like, man, I need some more prescription eye ointment. But sometimes that will heal an animal very quickly. And this is like, I don't know, 7 years expired now or 6 years expired. but sometimes just a drop or two will get that animal through a really tough spell. I've used it on rabbits, chickens, ducks. I've used it on small poultry. You only need a little bit, especially when it's a dog or cat medicine. And last but not least, homeopathy. I have, this is Apis Mel. If you don't know about homeopathy or oils, definitely take a look, because I buy this for my family. I have a whole entire drawer of all natural remedies. And it's important that you know that if you have an animal and it's sick, the first thing I do when I have an animal that's ill or injured, I think, and Eric always reminds me, what would you do if it was a kid? And so I immediately step back and think, okay, how can I treat this? Because there's a part of me that just wants to go grab the medicine and put the medicine in the animal right away. He's like, wait, we don't need to give it penicillin right away. Think about what would you do naturally? How can we remedy this first and see if the remedies or the oils will help? And so you can use certain essential oils on your animals. You just need to be very, very mindful of what oils you're using on what animals, because some oils can be very detrimental to dogs, cats, and some animals. So just know what you're doing. Take some time, buy yourself a homeopathy book, an essential oil book, get yourself books to educate yourself on these natural remedies, and put them in your first aid kit too. Because if you read up on them and you keep it all together, you're going to know how to use it in emergency. So that's kind of the last of it. And I'll be doing my video on this with all three of my bins kind of together to show everybody, hopefully this week. So.
Yeah. And I think you raised a really good point. You know, a lot of us say, look online. And we recently had an experience where we looked online and everything we looked at told us X, for example, and X was wrong. So I just want to tell everybody, like, first of all, disclaimer, we're not veterinarians. We are not, suggesting anything. You have to do your own research. We're just telling you what works for us.
Yes.
Or things that we have used. Do your own research. But please, when you're doing the research, don't believe everything you see online. Make sure that you're looking up in, the Merck veterinary manual and stuff like that, that you're looking at reputable resources to get your information. I think that's really important.
I think you have to also remember to do what you feel comfortable doing as well. And just like, I did have this too. I bought the terramycin online because I had gotten it from my vet, but I bought it online because you can buy it online as well, or in the feed store. And it's helpful to know what you feel comfortable doing for your animals. Because if you don't feel comfortable putting something in their eyes, or you would rather, if you have to take them somewhere, go for it. But you have to know what you feel comfortable doing for your animals. And by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not a doctor, so
yeah. And I think that's the point to raise too. I mean, what you feel comfortable with. When we had Winston, who suddenly had an injured leg, I had no plan of doctoring him myself. None. I called a vet. I called over 20. Nobody would come out for a pig. So at that point, I have to do something, because I'm not going to let him suffer.
exactly.
And so if we couldn't fix the issue, we would have processed sooner. But the reality of it is we're responsible for him. He needs to be taken care of. I did want to say that, Alicia was talking about the bulb droppers, and we just added a few things, because if you've ever tried to make a chicken drink, poultry drench, it's really hard to pour it down their little gullets. You know what I mean? And if they're not willing to drink and you're trying to spoon feed them, so to speak, we got some of the tiny ones that have a nice, like Alicia said, a nice direct little pinpoint where you could do it, But I think one of the biggest things for us that has been really helpful, and it won't show up too much, is these are Cynomed disposable scalpels. These were in our original kit. We had a really bad case of bumblefoot that soaking was not fixing. Again, we're not vets, but we had to take care of the issue because bumblefoot does consist of a core infection. And it was really difficult to do, but we did do it and we were able to take care of it, and her foot looks amazing. So, I mean, otherwise we would have ended up with a fatality at some point. So I think it's just really important to have all this stuff on hand, right down to Q-tips, peroxide, alcohol. I mean, a lot of the things that you have for yourself, And we have Vetericin, like Alicia showed, but we also have Microcin. Microcin is more for dogs, but if you're out of Vetericin and you have that, that's really beneficial as well.
Mm-hmm.
Monica, you look like you had something to say.
Well, when you were pulling that out, I realized too, because we've treated a lot of bumblefoot here, and we've also treated, with our turkeys, we had some infections with fowl pox. And so we had a turkey almost lose an eye. Well, I have a little, a manicure kit. And so it has now officially it's been used so many times. It is the little tiny scissors for your nails, I guess, or your cuticle nails, and the little tweezers. And these are just only for animal care. So I keep this in my first aid kit. And so anytime the kids are like, there's a limper, Mom, I'm like, bring it over. And so I have cut out many bumblefoot and tended to many wounds with these little teeny tiny scissors. And they're great for smaller animals and smaller wounds and stuff. So keep a little manicure kit in there. You never know when it's going to come in handy, especially when you're needing those little tools for those smaller animals. So this has actually been in my kit pretty much from day one. It was something I had in my house, and I'm like, bring it out here. And once I used it for a gross animal thing, I was like, oh, that's never going back in my house. So yeah.
Yeah, we have that too. And I saw that somebody had mentioned gloves, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not always good at doing that, but when it comes to the animals and I'm doing first aid on animals, I always have gloves on. I don't care if it's a staph infection or not.
Yes.
I always have gloves on because, here, working hands, right? There's a blister. I always have some kind of open something on my hands from using my hands all the time. So always wearing gloves, always wearing, even if it's like some kind of old sheet apron sometimes, depending on what I'm doing, because it's easy to transfer bacteria and all that stuff. And no thanks.
Exactly. And that's a great reminder.
You brought up a good point about not the farrowing, but about birthing animals. And one of the things we're preparing for is farrowing. And we did receive some really great information on stuff that you can give to piglets when they have diarrhea, and that can be deadly to piglets. So we are buying that stuff. And also Alicia talked about flies. We have a recommendation I have to buy for fly strike ointment for the pig's ears. We have used fly spray and all of that, but the ointment is just something really good to rub on their ears. For those of you who don't know, fly strike can happen to most animals. Pigs, it's often on the ears, and the flies lay larvae in their ears. Like Country Mama was talking about, she has the donkeys where they have wounds, and the flies can also get in there and cause infection. Chickens also can have fly strike on their bottoms. So all stuff you want to look for.
And one thing I wanted to mention as well, in addition to keeping the baby aspirin, is get an extra box of Benadryl. Just keep Benadryl in there. I know that we have times where our dogs will get a hold of something. They'll either get bitten by something, or they'll be running around in some kind of weed that just sets them off, and they'll get all swollen and squinty-eyed. And so we give them a Benadryl, and it just kind of helps them get past that. So if you have it in your regular first aid, that's great. But if you keep it right there in your animal first aid kit, it's easy to get to, and you can help them if they've got a little bit of an allergy issue.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A couple weeks ago, we had talked about Diesel. We suspect had a spider bite, and he was fine 1 minute, and an hour later his face was swelling and his eyes were closing shut. And so we ended up using Benadryl. We didn't have any on hand. Ryan went to the gas station and was able to get the little envelopes of it. But it's not something we take here. So now we do have it on hand as well. We bought some.
And if you can't get your animal to swallow the small little tablet of it, you can crush it in between 2 spoons, add a little bit of water, just a tiny little bit of sugar, just to get them interested in it. Then you can use those droppers and just put it right through their back of their lips to the back of their throat and squirt it on in. And that way it will administer it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think another thing to keep in mind too is if once you administer a remedy or a solution to an injury, make sure you take notes of it. That's one thing I've been trying to really be mindful of. Whenever we give any medication to any of our animals, especially our large animals, whether it's worming them for general purposes or whether it's an animal that needed care, we try to keep a good, accurate record of that, so that if there is a solution to an injury or something that's happened to one of your animals, you can go back on that later, especially if the animal has babies, or if you're selling or trading or doing something, or the same, allergy or something comes up, what you've used before. I have a dog that Boxer that had some crazy rash over the summer and no idea what it was. We started making notes and really keeping track of what it was. And we figured out that it was some treats she got into that my dad was here with. She ate those treats. And so we knew how to care for her immediately following. And now I've made notes that, because I'm not going to remember all of it. I mean, I can't remember to go turn the timer off for the cookies in the oven sometimes. So I'm not going to remember every single remedy that I've given to every one of my animals, although I'm going to pretend like I'm going to try to remember. I'm not. And so it's really important for you to keep an accurate record or a log if you can, and stick a notebook. Just get a composition notebook or something, stick it in your first aid kit area. And if that means you're making notes of what you've used before, or maybe what you think will work or whatever, make notes, because at the end, after that emergency, you're going to go back and have time to look and say, okay, this works. Or in an emergency, you can flip through it real quick and say, oh my gosh, the last time they did this, I had this, I used this, let's do this.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of what Monica just said, it's important also because if you have an animal and it becomes somewhat emotional for you, let's say it is a dog or a cat that's a family pet, and you've been trying to do what you can, and let's say things aren't working and you do end up going into the vet, it's nice to have that reference, because now you're emotional, let's face it, and the vet's going to say, what have you done? And you'll have everything right there. This is what's on board. This is the time I gave it to them. This is what we've tried. And the vet has that as a reference. Instead of you thinking, oh my gosh, I might lose my pet, and you're crying, you're like, I don't know what time I gave them Benadryl. I don't know the dosage I gave them. I just know I tried it. And so now you're playing catch up, and you're in a guessing game. And if you do write that all down, your vet has all the information they need. So, taking it from that point of view, that maybe we have listeners who don't necessarily have homesteads, but they're listening because they do have the smaller animals. It's an important thing that you have all of that information for your vet. So the composition notebook is a great tip, Monica.
And I think
that really is.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about, and I'm watching the comments go by, and the reason why I wanted to point this out is, how far do you live from town? And the reality of it is, when do emergencies happen? Friday nights, Sunday mornings, like
Sunday morning.
The reality of it is you're, like I had said in my video, it's a 2-hour round trip. That's not even the time in the store. That's just driving there and back. Then I have to go across a large city to go to Tractor Supply or Fleet Farm or wherever, and they may not have it because we don't know what's in stock. So, I mean, for me, it's just given me the peace of mind to have it on hand.
Yeah.
Because we just go to the box and we've got it. And it just makes life so much better.
I was just like Lisa, I've been kind of reading the chat as we go along, because I don't have much knowledge in this. That's why I'm over here taking notes. If you see me, I have my little notepad right beside taking notes. But I saw somebody talk about snake bites. So I wanted to ask you ladies, what do y'all have set and plan in case an animal, dog, cat, whatever it is bit by a snake? Because I think all 4 of us are pretty far from vets. I know I'm about maybe 45, 50 minutes from a vet, and that's only a Monday through Friday vet. So also, Monica, I'll go with you first. What do you have set in place for snake bites?
So we've had that happen here. We actually didn't even know she was bit by a snake until we took her to the vet, and we realized we had a snake bite on our hands. So we actually, for snake bites in particular, my first remedy would probably go right to Benadryl. I would go straight for Benadryl. I would, especially if it's a dog or a cat, I would wrap it in some cheese, the little tablets, wrap it in some cheese and shove it in their face. Most of my animals will take something if it's wrapped in cheese. No, that's what I would go to first, is the Benadryl. If it's a larger animal that I can't get the Benadryl into, or I don't have the quantity that I would need, I would probably go straight to my homeopathy and start remedying there to see if I could help. And then honestly, I'm trying to think of what I have in my pot of. I would probably go right to my medical bag and start looking for whatever I had that would help with. Which I think I actually have some dexamethasone or whatever in here too, which is some remedy for allergy or allergy type of thing. So I think I actually have some that's an old prescription that I would probably go to first as an injection for a large animal. So that's what I would have at this point is Benadryl first, homeopathy, Apis mel, those type of things. And then I would go from there to see if it was responding.
I'll go next, and I'll say that I honestly would follow what Monica just said. We would go with the Benadryl. We're really fortunate where we live in the state of Iowa. We don't have any poisonous snakes. So for me, I wouldn't have to worry about the venom. It would just be the initial strike mark and just making sure that it's clean and watch for infection. And if they do develop any type of a reaction to just a normal little snake bite, say from a garter snake or a green snake, that's really all we have here. It would just be watch and wait. I'm really fortunate and thankful that we don't have venomous snakes. But for those who have snakes that are in a venomous area, you're going to need to follow up with your vet and see what is recommended for sure.
Yeah, I will say that us in Georgia, that's one thing that we do have is venomous snakes. And I was looking online maybe about a week ago, and it was talking about the antivenom that is done intravenously. And disclaimer, because I know Lisa said it before, we are not veterinarians on this podcast, but me and Kacy Lady Boots both have nursing backgrounds, but you can get trained to administer the antivenom. It's kind of like a CNA course. It's like a 6 to 9 month course, but I think it's something important for me and anybody else on farms that wants to take the time to do that, to have the antivenom if you're in a poisonous snake area like we are in Georgia. So I just thought I would kind of throw that in there. That's one thing that we are looking into. Somebody in the chat tell me it's called something. The certification's called something. But what about you, Lisa?
We don't have the issue as much here either. I have not seen a snake the whole time we've been here. We're over 5,300 feet. However, if you drive down the road about 10 miles, you're back in the prairie and there's rattlesnakes, and that's the issue. However, we don't see them here. We would use Benadryl. We also have a snake bite kit that has some tools in it that you can relieve the swelling. We've had that in our hiking bags. It was a snake bite kit for humans. And we also have saline solution to flush it out, but it does not seem to be an issue right now for our animals. So we don't really have it. So we would definitely go with Benadryl and typical first aid for snake bite. But if we lived, say, like the Badlands, camping in the Badlands, our vet would have recommended rattlesnake venom or vaccination or whatever it is for a diesel. But because we don't go that way, we just haven't had that concern.
And that's a good point, Lisa, because that might be something that a lot of people don't realize. If you live or you plan on going somewhere where there are rattlesnakes, if you're going to go on vacation, say up in the mountains or something, there are vaccines available for dogs and cats that will help them should they be bitten by a venomous snake. So something to look into with your veterinarian if that's a concern for you.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the areas that we have lived in, and except here, I haven't had the issue, but in the past, our Yogi was bit by a tick, and that caused a lot more issues, quite honestly, considering even though when we lived in Connecticut, we did have rattlesnakes, the tick bite just wreaked havoc. So, a lot of those things are just important to just even silly things like the tick you look at and you're like, yeah.
It's
important.
Well,
we want to hear. Oh, go ahead, Monica.
I was going to say it's important to know about your animals too and what area you do live in. So when you know your animals you're raising and you do a little bit of research too, then you can know how to reach out or who to reach out to so that in case of emergency, you have those resources as well. Obviously, you're going to want to stock up as much as possible. But if for some reason you don't have the medicine on hand, if you know a friend that's raising similar animals, they might. Especially if you run out of something or whatever. So it's nice to have friends or neighbors that may have the same or similar animals. So sorry, Kacy.
No, I was just going to say, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. So what do y'all use and had stocked in your first aid kit? I'm going to bring up a couple comments. So go ahead and type it in. What do y'all have in your first aid kit?
If you're enjoying the
talking about it before.
I'm just going to go on to our next little bit here while we're waiting for comments to come up. And if you're enjoying the topics here on Round the Hay Bale, be sure to scan the QR code. It's right there. You can see it. And download previous episodes and much, much more that's available to you.
Also, learn more about our sponsor for the Hay Bale, American Crafters Catalog. It began with one simple question: is there a place to buy goods online from small farms and homesteads?
The innocent question came from Brandy from Farm and Animals, and by the end of the day, the homestead community was at work.
The American Crafted Catalog believes that working together as a community gives us a louder voice in the marketplace, and they are delighted to bring you the first edition of the catalog. For more information on the American Crafted Catalog, visit the QR code on the screen.
All righty, so I did see some. Let's see, here we go. Leanne at the Mennonite Farmhouse. Kiro syrup, blue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I can't. I'm gonna need somebody else to read those.
Karo syrup, blue coat, and ivermectin. So blue coat is the equivalent of we carry the Scarlex. We have, so it's gonna look like this. It's gonna say blue coat on it. We have Scarlex. Blue coat's another one of those sprays for wound care. There you go, blue coat. Karo syrup, and then of course you want to have your ivermectin. We have our ivermectin or Duramectin, whatever. You always want to have something like that. Karo syrup is great when you have piglets or other animals. I'm going with what I know, piglets, when they're really lethargic and they don't want to move and they're just slow moving. And you can put a little Karo syrup or sugar water, really. You can get them moving that way, and that really helps.
This was what we bought. Instead of having Karo syrup, we have the Drench series. It's a lot of nutrients and minerals and energy for your animals. So we ended up buying swine drench. We have poultry drench. So it's good stuff to have on hand. But for those of you, the blue coat, if you remember, I did a video of Sherman Purple Rain, and that was the blue coat. I had sprayed his ears and it looked purple. I was not dyeing his hair. I was trying to protect his ears because, like Monica was saying, this is like an antibacterial, antifungal. So when you spray it on there, it's actually working to cause some healing and keep the wounds fresh, so to speak.
And I just wanted to touch on that Karo syrup. You know, if you've got a lethargic animal, all you really have to do is put a little bit on your finger and just put it inside their cheek.
Mm-hmm.
On the inside, that's a mucous membrane. It's going to soak up that sugar. You don't have to worry about actually getting them to swallow it. Or if you try to put some in and they spit it back out, as long as you can get it into that little pocket right down here in the cheek, that does soak in, and it will help more than not doing anything at all. So keep that in mind, because that is a great tip, is just it soaks right into the cheek and gets into the bloodstream.
Yeah,
that's a great tip.
Monica, do you want to read LP's comment as well?
Manuka honey is helpful for healing my pet birds. Also, cayenne pepper can help with pain. Just a small pinch. Yeah, honey's a really good idea, and I never knew about the cayenne pepper. That's really good. I'm writing that down too.
Yeah, I don't know. Honey is a really good idea. It has antibiotic properties, and I know we've talked about Casey's onion honey stuff, but
it's for the throat.
Yep, it's very good for animals as well, and also a little bit of honey and water. If you don't have Karo syrup or the drench products, you can mix them together, and that's the same thing. It helps to beat dehydration.
6 Acres Farm and Rescue says, I have Blue Coat activated charcoal, which is awesome, which I forgot to say too. Vet Wrap, CDT for tetanus, Cydectin, and antibiotic creams. Yeah, all those things are super helpful. I forgot to mention colloidal silver. We have that too in spray bottles. Yes. And colloidal silver is amazing. It helped with our fowl pox. It helped with, we've had eye injuries. We've had physical, lacerations. We spray. Usually that's one of the first things we do after we clean a wound is we spray it with colloidal silver spray or pour some on, because it's really, truly a great remedy. Brampton Gardner says coconut oil is antibacterial, antimicrobial, and great for the skin and healthy fats. So yeah.
Yes.
Coconut oil, great to put in there.
Absolutely.
And it looks like Kathleen over My Alabama Farm Life said, I am harvesting my local weeds and making tinctures and infused oils as I learn about what is growing around me. I can't wait for my first honey harvest. So much good stuff. And she makes a great point about the tinctures and the infused oils. I mean, if you are aware and you know of what you can use and you're aware of your environment and you're starting to do some research, it's such a great idea. I guess it really goes along with building your prepper library, all these things you can look up and research and do. And again, tap into your friends. If I had a problem and I knew that Alicia could give me some solutions, I would definitely reach out to her and say, hey lady, I've got this going on. I know you've been there with your pup or with whatever. Can you help me? You've got donkeys. I don't. What do I do? I'm new to this. So when you really have a community too, that's helpful. So building your library and your community is huge.
One thing I didn't bring upstairs with me that I wanted to share as well is if you're dealing with small animals, and this is something we've had to add to our kit that we never thought we would have to, but we learned the hard way. If you have dogs on your farm or where you live, keep a muzzle in that first aid kit, because if your dog is injured or very sick, they're going to go into defensive mode. And if you're trying to help them, they may snap at you if they're hurting or if they're sick. So you may think, I'm never going to have to use a muzzle on my dog. I don't like them. And that's commendable. We feel the same way for our dogs. But if they're hurt, they're going to defend themselves. So you may have to put that muzzle on so you can treat them. And we have the most gentle dog, but when she's hurt, we've learned we have to muzzle her. So that's something we have in our first aid kit as well.
Yeah, I have to piggyback on that, Alicia, and say that muzzle is important. Most of the ladies on the screen know my dog. She's a diva that wears clothes, but I did get her a bedazzled pink muzzle because she is super friendly, but she does not like the vet. For some reason, she is not a fan of anybody there and turns into attack mode. So, but she will allow me to put on the bedazzled muzzle. Not any other one, but her bedazzled one. She's okay.
Oh, she's a diva.
That's because her name is Destiny and she needs sparkle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And some people use like a scarf for a muzzle. Like, Diesel is a rescue and he's a great dog, but he's a bulldog. And unfortunately, all the every time he is being handled, it causes him pain, if that makes sense. So he is a dog that does tend to snap, and that is because he's always in pain. So same thing. We've had the vet soft muzzle him and so on. But, if some people suggest a scarf, I can't wrap it around him because he's brachiocephalic. He has no nose, right? So what we end up doing is a lot of the times is just keeping him occupied on one side, and, then he gets muzzled when he goes to the vet.
Well, it's important to know your animal too. Obviously, you know that you want to, like Alicia said, you want to believe that he or she, your pet's going to be super amazing. But when they're having to deal with that, then they're in pain. They're not going to know. And scarf is a great idea, but you have to know your animal too. Because with my boxer, I could never put a scarf over her mouth. She's got that short muzzle and no way. But with my blue healers, I'll just be wrapping some duct tape around their face. Duct tape their mouth shut.
What's helpful too is some type of a bandana or burlap that you can cover their eyes, because a lot of the time it's the fear of seeing what's going on. So if you have to do something on one of your larger animals, if you can just put a blindfold over them and they don't see what's coming or know what's happening, it can bring a little bit of sense of calm to them as well. It just, again, depends on your animal though.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's too, and LP made a comment for pet birds, keeping a couple towels ready. It's important so you can wrap them up to treat them if need be. Yeah, we actually have, like Lisa said, she has towels and stuff like that in hers, but we just have an old bin of old towels, sheets, anything, because we wrap up when it's castrating time around the farm here. So I'm going to be castrating this week, a few piglets. We have a blanket. We basically wrap them in, we cover their little faces up so they can't see what's about to happen. And, but those blankets and sheets are old and we don't use them for the children or our beds. Could you imagine me explaining to our guests that come to visit, don't worry about this one. I just castrated some pigs. These sheets are good. I cleaned them 3 times. It's fine.
Yeah.
That blood spot, not a big deal. I cleaned it.
Not a big deal.
Good.
Yeah. And, if you have chickens, it's just the easy, for anyone who's treated chickens for anything, you grab them, you hold their wings in. We all know their wings are fragile. You don't want to hurt them. So, you have them in that football hold. And then what happens? They slip down.
Mm-hmm.
I know for us, what's been a lot easier is wrapping a towel snugly around the entire chicken. That way we're not fighting with wings and worrying about doing more damage. And then we're able to work on a foot, and I can just hold my chicken, and we're good to go.
Little chicken football.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, she said chicken football.
That's it.
Well, if you have turkeys, and most of you have turkeys, their wings are crazy. And if you have to pick up a turkey, Eric got hit in the face the one time. He actually got bruised on the arm trying to move one of the turkeys. Now this turkey, we call him Shaq because he's got real long legs and he's awesome. And he's the ruler of the whole yard of turkeys. But my 7-year-old can go pick this turkey up. He's huge, but my 7-year-old can pick him up. But when it comes to anybody else touching him or picking him up, he doesn't want to have it. And so his wings are so strong. He has bruised people with his wings. And so if you have a towel or a sheet, you can really you're safe for yourself as well. I don't think we could hurt him. I think he's going to hurt us before we hurt him. So yeah, sometimes it's safe for you to have a towel or a sheet because turkeys are strong. They don't play.
Well, y'all, thank you so much in the comments for telling us what is in your first aid kit. Make sure that if you want to see Lisa's old video on when she did the first aid kit and Alicia's on making the sling bag to scan that QR code. But now we're going to talk about what's going on this week with us. What is going on? So we're going to start with drum roll.
Tune in this Saturday. I don't know the time yet because Papa Jim and I are going on an excursion. There's a little picture of what we anticipate our destination will be. If anybody has any guesses, let me know. But we're going to plan a live while we're there. Again, we don't know the exact time, so keep an eye out for it. I'm very excited about this little trip, and I cannot wait to share it with all of you. Also, tonight at 9:30 Central Standard Time, we're going to be having another Country Mama Quickie, and tonight we will be having Mike from Marino's Mysteries. Now, while we've been in this live, I've had a notification come up that I was going live at 9:30. So I know I planned it for 9:30 p.m., but StreamYard obviously has got me set up for AM. So probably people were sitting there waiting for me and it's not going to happen. So I'll reschedule that for tonight at 9:30. And then we have our Country Mama Musings coffee chat on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central Time. And then a new live that we're really enjoying is when Papa Jim and I go live on Saturday. This week it'll be at, I think, 11 o'clock in the morning where we're going to stuff our piñata because we are pulling cash funds on a spinny carnival wheel every week to stuff into a piñata so we can go on a trip. And we don't know where the trip is going to be. It may be to Mount Rushmore so we can go see Lisa and Ryan over at Yogi Hollow Farm. I did let her know that if I end up in her neck of the woods, there will be a challenge that she will be involved in, and she's been forewarned. I don't know if she knows what it is. If she went back on that live to check to see what I've got working in my little brain, but it is going to be fun. But again, it's all going to be up to the wheel because I think we're going to put our destinations on a carnival type wheel and spin to see where we go. So it's between Mount Rushmore. It's maybe even a train trip to Chicago, Mackinac Island, or Branson, Missouri is what we've got so far. So we'll see. So tune in Saturday morning at 11 o'clock to see what our carnival wheel puts into our pumpkin. Not a pumpkin, it's a piñata. It's a cupcake piñata. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And I have lots of videos to upload. You love the piñata? We have videos to upload, but since we don't have regular internet on the farm right now, I can't upload anything. But I did do some footage of not tropical storm. Boy, I need coffee. Winter storm Izzy that blew through. I've got my coffee mug, but it's just water. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's clear.
Clink. Well, right after this live over the Ormsby Farm channel, we are doing air fryer French toast. I actually had it in our cookbook, our holiday cookbook that came out, the recipe for this. And it is something that is so yummy and it's freezer friendly. Instead of buying the Eggos that you do yours, throw them in a freezer bag. It's a good grab and go kind of meal. So that video is coming out after our live. And also I'm putting out a video because we in Georgia that had the half an inch of snow and everything shut down. I did a video on the half an inch of snow and was kind of dramatic, as you can tell in the picture. But it was very cold. It was cold and windy. And then tomorrow, we're really excited because we are doing the Being Kacy Watch-a-thon. And it's our first season. It will be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm kind of excited because I have the trailer that is going to air right now on the live podcast. So thank you. Here we go. Season 1 of Being Kacy.
What are we looking for?
6'4" or taller.
Not materialistic. Completely gay dynamic.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's Kacy.
Did you know that you could get alcohol delivered and room service? I'm shocked.
Sitting here and I'm starving for pizza. I'm about to die. It's okay. I'm the most important.
No ma'am. Hey y'all, it's Ruby.
Sucky now, sis.
Right. Are you trying to piss me off? I said, well, I'm gonna need a babysitter.
How are you tapping me?
Hi, I'm Susan, Kacy's mom.
Check it every once in a while to make sure. Make sure I've got us both in it.
It's cold out there. What people think.
I'm gonna put a sweater on.
Who wants to get laced for the party?
Oh, I do. Kacy's dramatic, Ruby's dramatic, so who knows what's going to happen.
Did she just come for me?
Being Kacy Season 1 returns to YouTube January 2022.
So be sure to tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's all 12 episodes, watch-a-thon. So I'm excited because people have asked me about this Being Kacy thing. So that's
the laugh at the end. The laugh at the end says it all.
Well, let me tell you a funny story about that laugh. So when we were shooting the very first season, we did 6 episodes, and then we had gotten a producer that actually decided to produce the show. And in between that break of episode 6 and episode 7, they were like, well, we want you to do a little promo. Let's do kind of an old school TV show. What's your favorite show? And I said, oh, Roseanne. And they were like, great. And so they set up this where we were eating a picnic outside, kind of like how they did the round the table. And they're like, okay, Kacy, laugh, go. I was like, this is stupid. And then it turned out really good, actually. So that was our opening for the rest of the 3 seasons. So that's how it worked out. Let me pull up this next one because next we got Lisa.
Yeah, so Friday night we're going to be doing our open panel chat. We've decided to kind of back off of some of the interviews we've been doing. We've had a lot of fun doing it, but we have a lot of fun on our open panel chat. So this Friday night, 7:30 p.m. MST, we'll be having our Friday Night Live, which is our weekly live. Later on today, we will be giving you a supply chain update on what things are looking like in a rural South Dakota town. I know that it's a lot different in areas where there's big cities. I know I've seen a lot on Houston. I've also seen outside of Memphis, Tennessee. So we wanted to let you know what we're facing here right in town because we don't have a Walmart. All we have is a Dakota Mart. So hopefully later on today in the next few hours, I need to do some finishing touches. And tomorrow at 11:30 MST, we will be going live with Mountain Grandma. We will be doing this on our channel. And this is the second in the series of the 7F goal setting series. Last week on Mountain Grandma's channel, we did an explanation and education on what the 7F model is. And tomorrow we're going to be doing a Q&A session. So bring a pen and pencil and a piece of paper because we've got a lot going on. It's been a really well-received series. And that's why I've got the room behind me cleaned up. And then we will also later in the week do an update on our farm first aid kit. So that's what's happening by us.
Okay, so I'm next. Okay, so on Bland's Promised Land Ranch, we will go live on Thursdays, as we always do, at 8 p.m. Central. And so this week we have Gigi from Gigi's Natural and Gigi's Natural Homestead. I'm super excited to chat with her. We are part of the MIG Grow Off 2022, and I'm really excited because she is on our team with Eco Neighbor, and I'm super excited to be having her join us this week. We're also going to be, I'm sure we'll be dropping other videos. I am going to finally finish my Farm First Aid Kit video for Elisa's challenge, as well as I have a couple canning videos I am probably going to get put up this week, as I am really, really enjoying canning leftovers. And so I am not an expert canner by any sense of the imagination. I am definitely more of a rebel canner. And so I will be leading that way and making sure everyone knows that you do not have to do what I will do, but I will show you how to do it the wrong way if you want to try.
Wrong, but safe.
Wrong, but safe. Or safe, but wrong. I don't know.
Safe, but wrong.
And since Lady Boots is not here, I'm going to chit chat about that. Stephen and Kacy go live every Monday night on Boots and Bounty Homestead. They're just going to be talking about starting seeds and doing some Q&A and what's going on with all of their friends on their Monday night sit and chat. And then they're also doing Three Rivers Homestead started a challenge for January and February to not go to the grocery store and to use what was in your pantry, what you canned, preserved, frozen, all of that kind of stuff. And she has that video for their second week coming out this week. She is also preparing the garden for snow because for those that don't know, me, Kacy, Monica are all in the South. And we got snow and we're not used to it. We tried to UPS it back to Lisa and Alicia, but the mail wouldn't take it. Let's see what else, Kacy. On Friday, she's making some air fryer crab wontons, which looks so amazingly good. And I'm excited about that. And they're also cleaning up and joining in on Small Town 6, the Fresh collab for January. So Miss Lady Boots got a lot of videos going out this week. She's a busy girl. Her and Steven, they some busy folks over there in the Tennessee. So speaking of when, right? I thought I was cray for doing 3 videos a week, but that's like 400. So that's
Well, I forgot to mention I'm going to be over there with Tammy and Lisa over on their 7 thing. I still got it wrong, Lisa. I'm gonna be visiting Yogi Hollow this week, and so stay tuned because I'll be there with those 2 beautiful ladies at some point.
Or whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Because if anybody can do some 7F goal setting and some time management, it is Monica Bland.
It's gonna need to be me for sure. Literally, I'm the worst friend in the world, just so y'all know.
Not at all.
No.
Whatsoever. Nope.
Well, if you guys are enjoying what you're seeing here, make sure you hit that QR code that Kacy's going to put back up in the corner right there as I point at it with my little bulb syringe. Scan the QR code, find out about all of these events that we've been talking about, and make sure you join us.
And be sure to catch up on all the previous episodes on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify. Don't forget to download them, y'all. Go and share it with your friends and download them. We definitely appreciate that. And we want you to listen to us while you're out in the garden or out in your greenhouse or out in your pasture or wherever you're at, because most people aren't in their garden right now.
If you're driving.
If you're driving.
And then after you drive and drive safely while you listen, make sure you give like a good rating for it as well.
Yeah, definitely let us know what you think, if it's good.
Give us some stars.
Stars, thumbs up, likes,
all that.
Hey, Yall Hays.
Yeah.
Let's see who is joining us next week on Round the Hay Bale.
Next time on Round the Hay Bale,
Master Canner and Homesteader Tammy from Rebel Canners joins us.
To continue in Preparedness Month, we're going over all things canning.
We're talking water bath canning, pressure canning,
fermenting, and even some Rebel recipes. So grab a cup of joe and join us next week on Around the Hay Bale.
Hey, Yall Hay. I am so looking forward to that because as Monica said, she's a rebel. I'm a rebel. I think Kacy's a rebel. Lisa, you rebel a little bit there with your canning?
I'm a rebel in general.
There we go. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that episode. So, friends, thank you so much again for stopping by the Hay Bale. And be sure to press the thumbs up, subscribe, join us every week, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Bye.